Yo, 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 this is Real Talk 100 coming live. We're going to talk about these real stories and we're going to talk about the real reason Betty Broderick killed her husband and his mistress, his young secretary mistress. So we're going to get to the strip. We're going to break this down. Hit that like button because I know it can happen to anybody. It can happen to me, anyone. But that's when it comes to wealth. So I'm gonna read this slowly. I'm gonna read the strip to you. So I'm gonna let you know this is the real reason this stuff is happening to that couple. So let's get this shit started. Betty Broderick was born Elizabeth Ann Bashaklia on November 7th, 1947, and grew up in Bronxville, New York. She was the third of the six children born to Marital Curtin from 1919 to 2007, and Frank Venetia was born in 1915 and died in 1998, who was owned a successful plastering business with relatives. Her mama was Irish American and her father was Italian American. The Bashaklias were strict parents, and much was suspected all of the Bashaklia children. As Broderick later recalled, she was being trained to be a housewife since the day she was born, or as she recalled, go to Catholic schools, be careful with dating until you find a Catholic band supporting him. While he works, he blessed in your later years with beautiful grandchildren. She also recalled that her school friends was raised in a similar situation as hers, giving her life chance to rebuild. Broderick graduated from Maria Regina High School in Hartsdale, New York in 1965. She graduated from the College of Mount Vernon Vincent in the Bronx, where she earned her degree in early childhood education through an Escalating program. Her credits also earned her minor in English. In 1965, Elizabeth Betty met her future husband, Dan Broderick, in 1944 at the University of Notre Dame in Indiana. Dan was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the eldest son of a very large Irish Catholic family whose parents had a similar outlook to the Bashaklias. Dan and Betty met at the dance at Notre Dame. He was 21 years old, medical student, and at 17 years old, she was pursuing her degree at the College of St. Mary's. Dan never once wavered from his goal of making him his wife. He would wait, he would do and say whatever was necessary, even agreeing with me. He didn't and doing things I wanted to do when he didn't until he had me. Nobody ever used the term upset complicit or stalker back then. But that is what he was. The couple was married on April 12, 1969 at the Immaculate Concentration Church of Tucson, New York. Betty returned from the honeymoon pregnant with their first child, daughter Kim, happened to be born in 1970. She gave birth to four more children, daughter Lee, 1971, sons named Daniel Broderick in 1976, and Rehet in 1979, and an unnamed boy who died 4 days later at the birth. So they was giving birth all at the same time every year. So she could have had more children, but one of the children had passed away, probably at birth. So as Kim birthed Dan, completed his MD medical degree, then he pronounced his intention to combine his medical expertise with the JD degree and enrollment at Harvard Law School. Betty was the main provider for the family while Dan attended law school with the help of a student loan. Dan was quickly hired by a law firm in San Diego, California, and moved his family to the San Diego community of La Jada. Betty continued working part-time, offering selling Tupperware or Avon product while raising the children. In the fall of 1982, Dan hired 21-year-old Dutch-American Linda Kelkunda, a former Delta Airline flight attendant, to be his legal assistant. As early as October 1983, Betty suspected that Dan was having an affair with Linda, but Dan denied it. Against Betty's wishes, Dan moved out in February of 1985. He eventually took custody of the children after Betty left the children of his doorstep one by one. Betty claimed that Dan confessed he had a fact of having an affair with Linda and a loan drawn out of hostile divorce insurance. By the time Dan Broderick had become a promoted local lawyer seeking as the president of the San Diego Bar Association, Betty claimed that Dan made it extremely difficult for her to find a lawyer willing to represent her in a divorce proceeding, which has put her in a distant disadvantage. Betty also believed that Dan used his legal influence to win sole custody of the children, sell their house against their wishes, and cheat on her out of her rightful share of the income. So Dan Broderick decided he wanted to go take law firm and become a lawyer. So Betty Broderick, I believe Betty Broderick had think that Dan been cheating on her with the secretary at the job. So at first he denied it. Then he came and confessed of the affair that him and her could have had. So the thing is, he knew he was cheating on her anyway, but you had this big family and everything, so it's like you putting Betty under the pedestal and everything. So the divorce had finalized in 1989, 4 years after Dan signed the petition. Betty Broderick's behavior became increasingly erratic. She left hundreds of profane messages on Dan's answer machine and ignored numerous restraining orders that forbade her from selling foot on Dan's property. So the police, so he had filed a restraining order against Betty Broderick. And we're going to get to that for the next one, the dark side of Betty Broderick. So she vandalized, so until then, she messed up his new home and drove the car in front of the door despite the fact other children was inside at the time. On February 22nd, 1989, Dan and Linda was married. Linda had been concerned about Betty's behavior and urged Dan to wear a bulletproof vest to the wedding. However, Betty did not arrive and the wedding proceeded without incident. After the wedding, Betty Broderick claimed that Linda taught her by mailing her facial cream and slim treatment ads. So he formed him to wear a bulletproof vest. He didn't need the bulletproof vest. So when they went to the wedding, she was already up there, and looked at the wedding. So she had she has a few dates and stuff like that, but she couldn't get over the fact that Dan Broderick had went and won the custody battle against the kids, against Betty, for the sake of the fact they thinking she was crazy. They think she was loony in the head and everything like that. So that's what I believe. And I believe that Dan wanted out of the relationship after all these years of marriage. So remember, they've been married April 16, 1969. So they've been married for about, 20-something years so far. So Dan wanted somebody new. He decided he wanted to go get somebody new. But Betty Broderick didn't get over the fact that she paid for his schooling. These are the things she was doing. She took her hard-working money, paying for his lawyer, paying for the school tuition, everything. Everything she had paid for. So now, all she got is a stab in the back. Hit that like button. Because it can happen to anybody. Hit that like button again. So if Betty Broderick say, hold up, I'm not gonna let you take my children and I'm not gonna get away with it. You understand me? I'm coming back. And this ain't over. So, like I said, Betty Broderick believed that Dan Broderick uses that job to gain sole custody of those kids. So when all this happening, because remember, both of their birthday was on November. Both of their birthday was on November anyway. So after they got married, they went out on the honeymoon. Guess who coming in? Betty Broderick coming in and trying to confront the girl. Because she don't like that. The girl is younger. She was 21 years old. Dan Broderick was what? Dan Broderick was older, much older. So now, when years go by, everything was going by and everything. So now, 8 months after buying a Smith & Wesson, so she went and bought a gun. She decided to go get a gun to even the score with her estranged ex-husband and his new mistress. So she been planning on doing this for the whole time. But I'm gonna get to you to the we're gonna get to the next part. Now, when she went and bought a Smith & Wesson revolver 8 months after buying a Smith & Wesson revolver, and 7 months after Dan and Linda was married, Betty Broderick drove to Dan's house at 1041 Cypress Avenue in the Marshall Hills neighborhood near Balboa Park in San Diego. Betty uses a key, her daughter's key, that she had left under the mat. So when she went and got the key, she went upstairs. This is around about 5:30 in the morning. She went upstairs into the room. And when she went upstairs to the room, she saw them upstairs sleeping together. And when she went and took out the gun, and she shot Dan Broderick first. Shot him a couple times. And turned around and shot Linda Broderick a couple times. So anyway, so that's what that happened. So she shot and killed them both. The murder occurs at 5:30 in the morning on November 5th, 1989, 2 days before Betty's 42nd birthday. 2 bullets hit Linda in the head and the chest, killing her instantly. 1 bullet hit Dan in the chest, and he apparently was reaching for the phone. 1 bullet hit the wall, and 1 bullet hit the nightstand. Dan was 17 days shy on his 45th birthday, and Linda was 28 years old. So, evidence had presents that her trial that Betty had removed the phone answer machine from Dan Broderick's bedroom so he could not call the police. Medical evidence indicated that Dan had not died right away, and Betty claimed that she had spoke to him after she shot him. After contacting her daughter Lee Broderick, and Lee's boyfriend, Betty turned herself in to the police, never denied it. She admitted that she pulled the trigger, which she did. And she admitted that. So she killed Dan, but I heard that she was planted, but she never planted this. That was my mistake, because I thought she had planted this, but she didn't. She claimed that she never planted this. So when the girl was screaming, called the police, and immediately fired the gun, Linda and Dan Broderick was listed, has been buried together at the Greenwood Memorial Park in San Diego. So the criminal defense attorney Jack Early represented Broderick at the trial. Carrie Wells, prosecutor for the state of California. Broderick's defense was that she has been a battered wife, claimed that she was driven over the edge by years of psychological, physical, and mental abuse at the hands of her ex-husband. Remember, again, this man was giving her anything she wanted. He married her, showered her, giving anything she wanted. She helped him also. She helped him getting on. She helped him also. She also helped him. She also helped him get up on his feet. And soon he got that girl up in there, then all of a sudden, she flipped out. She flipped the script, she flipped out, and she decided she went and killed them both. So they claim Broderick as a murderer and planned and schemed to kill her ex-husband, and urged to the jury that Broderick was not a battered woman. Forensic psychologist and criminologist Dr. Park Dieter was the prosecutor used by the analysis of Dr. Melvin Goldsband, who previously worked on the case for the prosecution. Diet says Broderick has historical and narcissistic personality disorder. Goldsband has likewise diagnosed Broderick as serving narcissist and historical clinical psychologist. Catherine D. Francisca testified that the defense concluded Broderick was a stereo with narcissistic features. The lead of detective in the case of Terry Desgerter of San Diego homicide, who provided testimony for the prosecution. So Broderick was sentenced. So the jury had pleaded her guilty of second degree murder. Betty Broderick was sentenced up to 2 consecutive terms of 15 years to life plus 2 years for legal use of firearm, the maximum under the law. She has been incarcerated since this day she committed the murders. So Broderick was serving at the sentence of the California Institution for Women, CIW, in Chino, California. In January 2010, her first request of parole was denied by the Board of Parole hearing because she did not show remorse that did not acknowledge wrongdoing. She was denied parole in November 2011. And again, in January 2007, she would not be eligible again until January of 2032, at which date she'll be 84 years old. Rest in peace, Dan Broderick, and rest in peace, Linda Broderick. Thank you for watching Real Talk 100. Real Talk.